thingy bob, which will all get spammed by emails later. So look forward to that. Louise is starting the recording. Thanks, Louise. We're just waiting for Johan. Louise, can you see when Johan gets in, or he'll join us? Hopefully we've got, I think we'll just wait a few minutes. There should be a lot more of the candidates coming in, hopefully, because this is an important session to have. And it's important that we've got Johan here. And we also don't want to waste Kim's time because she has to leave just now. So thank you for all joining. And if you could just give us a few minutes while we try and get the numbers up and hopefully get Johan to join as well. Louise, I'm not sure if maybe you could just ping Johan, see if he's okay.
Yes, I'm busy doing that.
Thank you. I thought you would be. Thank you. Louise, what we'll do when we do the recording, we can just trim the waiting bit at the beginning. I'll show you on streams how to do that. Yeah, we've got 12 people, including 3 of us or 4 of us from the steering committee. So let's just wait a little bit longer. No need. Okay, I think we should, I'll just wait to hear back from Louise, then we'll get going. I just want to see where Johan is. Otherwise, he can just join us. I don't want to waste Kim's time because she has to leave.
Hi, Phil.
Yebo.
I just spoke to Johan. He's just having a little bit of difficulty to get in. I've just sent him a link again so that he can try on that. So
Okay.
Just give it a minute. I'm sure he'll be in just now.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Louise. Okay, I think what I should do is I should start getting going. Louise, I'm just going to suggest that you, when you download the video, just stick it into streams, and we'll just trim the messy beginning and the end or whatever. And so we've just got obviously the guts of the session. I can't see Johan here yet, but there's Johan coming in. There he is. Okay, in full view. Hi, Johan. Johan's camera was on, but sounds like his mic is muted, so that's all fine for the time being. But welcome, Johan. Thanks for making time. Hopefully you can hear. Can you hear us? Can you just put a hand up? Or...
Yeah,
you're good.
Louise just sent me another link, so I'm in now. Thanks.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. Thanks, Johan. Okay. So firstly, we've got apologies from Friedrich Slubbert, who can't make it. Friedrich's in the sort of steering committee, as you all know. He's in another conference. Apologies from Sikadi, the CEO of SAICE. She was going to try and pop in, but she's also in some conference. And then I think we've got apologies from Nadira as well, who seems to have broken her hand and is struggling with a bit of pain, and who wanted to be here and couldn't be here, unfortunately. So a few apologies. The numbers are up to 19, so we're getting the sort of right kind of numbers. Okay, so let's get straight into the meat of what we want to do so that we don't waste anybody's time. that's the wrong picture. This is the right picture. And let's get rid of that. Okay, so Tom, can you see my screen?
Yeah, all good, Phil, and in presentation mode.
Okay, here we go. Thank you. Thanks for that. Okay, all right. So today's festivities, obviously we're kind of in the middle of the open window, getting towards the middle of July, the window having been opened in the 15th of June and coming up to 15th of August. So this is a session really that we wanted to just revisit who needs urgent help and to tell you who has had help and the lessons learned from the help. And then Kim's going to do something with us as well. So just very quickly, the sort of the welcomes in the format, what I'm going to do is just quickly revisit the checklist template and the notes that we would like you to please use before sending us your documents. We've had about 7 or 8 sets of documents sent to us so far, and we've kind of out of it, we've realized that we keep sending people back and saying, please send us this, etc. So we've got a couple of notes as pointers, and as we learn on the job, we will keep updating the pointers. But if you could please try to help us to help you. If we receive a well-prepared, signed off with your academic record, etc., it makes it much easier for us to get it, and then Johan is able to do it, and we can get a sort of an efficient process going. So I'm just going to revisit that so that you've all got that, and we'll share it again if necessary with the rest of the group. And then we did send out a submission status template sort of from the email in the invitation, but I don't think we've got time. As you all know, we've had a variety of challenges recently, and it's made us get a little behind on some of the admin. Louise had family issues, and all of us have had different issues that have just kept us away from the fluidity of our day-to-day admin practices. So we're just playing a little bit of catch up. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do a live session. So if you are in here, we're just going to ask you to put it straight into the chat, and then we'll collate it afterwards. The only urgency is those of you who want to register within the next month. If you are like Nadira, she may have to drop out of this window and aim at the next window with a broken hand. She can't type. She's in a lot of pain, discomfort. She's a little bit behind. And so that's just the way life treats us sometimes. And so that's fine. There's enough program left for her to club it on the head in the January, February, and we can relocate her into Amanzi 3 or 4. So I'll show you the live status update. I'm going to ask you that while I dribble on, you can go in there and just have a look at that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have a short session with Kim Tim, who's one of our resident gurus, as you know. And Kim's got to fly tomorrow internationally to present at a conference. And so she's got a limited amount of time with us, but she's going to take us through kind of what happens next. Once you've got your review back from Johan or from Friedrich or Tom or me or Kim, and we are of the opinion that you're good to go and that there's no more polishing needed and that you've got everything and you understand Kim's process, then we want to make sure that you have a relatively painless application process. And then Kim will probably leave. And then what I want to do is I want to show you quickly, because some of you are sending us emails to say, I haven't had feedback yet, where in fact you have had feedback, you just haven't looked in the right place. So I want to show you where in CHQ Communicator all the feedback goes. And the reason it goes, and the reason we put your documents into the communicator and the feedback into the communicator is the Johan always gives very, very detailed, and so does Kim and Tom and Friedrich, very detailed feedback on a almost outcome by outcome TER outcome, whether it's it's outcome 4.1 or 4.2 or whatever, and that adds enormous value to everybody else, as whether you're an engineer or a technologist or a technician. It's always very evident from the feedback, and you need to browse the feedback that others are getting, which in a normal mentoring program you would never have access to this. It's everybody's in their own unique little journey. and no one's learning from the collective experiences and the lessons learned of others. And the whole objective of Marcelo Lucani, which stands for let's guide each other, is let's guide each other. And that's the whole process. So there's nothing sensitive. There's nothing, this is a trusted community. This is a shared space of collective well-being and advancement, etc. So it's important that you're comfortable with that. So someone sent something just now and said, I haven't had feedback. And I think it was Unati, and Unati's feedback's been in Communicator since the 26th of June. So you just need to make sure that you have logged into Communicator. That was why we did the training on the 24th, so that you're comfortable. Louise doesn't appear to have had any request for additional assistance to get in. Some people are using it. So it's where we will always try to email the feedback to you as well. But our first port of call will be to make sure that we put it into the CHQ Communicator. By the end of July, this month, by the end of this month, 2 weeks' time, 2 and a bit weeks' time, Communicator will have had a substantial upgrade. So it will be a lot more user-friendly. It'll have a lot more features, etc. And then once I've done that very quickly, we'll have a roundup and a QA with Johan and Tom. Kim would have left, and I would have gone through some of the feedback. And I'm going to give Johan an opportunity to talk to us about his experience with some of the submissions that he's getting, and his advice and tips on how to get it together better. And Tom will then update us on anything he feels is valuable, which is always very valuable from Tom. And then we'll just have a quick Q&A, any outstanding requests. Anybody got anything that they need urgently that we can either fix today and sort out, or that we'll put in the chat and we'll come back to. So that's the kind of format. So just quickly, this is what I want to remind you, those of you who have not submitted yet and still want to get something in before the 15th of August. This is what we would like. So one of the things Johan's picked up is that some people are applying for technologist route, and they've really come from the technician, or they've come from with a diploma route, but they've only started their life from their B.Tech space. And what Johan is saying is that the assessors are going to want to see what happened prior. What happened in those years? Were you doing engineering or not doing engineering? And if you were doing engineering and you did do and you qualified, your diploma is in something engineering related, then you should try to get the benefit of that. And it just shows the longevity of learning and experience, and it's all in your favor. So there was someone, I think it was Moser, who applied as a technologist, and Johan went back and said, please tell us this. And then we've got this very rich background, which she wouldn't have had the benefit from if she hadn't done that. So, and I hope I've got the right name. So, if you've come that route, please make sure that anything you did prior to your B.Tech, any engineering work that you did after your initial diploma, that you may have covered it in just say 1 or 2 TERs that you covered, and also any qualification academic records that we would need that would be appropriate. And then what Johan's saying is, please always include your academic record in all the subjects you've taken. It makes it much easier for Johan to cross-check that you've got an academic record from an institution that's recognized by EXA, and so that you're not going to have issues around your education and do the whole B18 EDR route and et cetera. So that's also a note in CHQ. Both of these requests have been placed in CHQ. And then importantly from Johan, you're saying that your training and experience summary must tie up 100% with your TEOs and TERs. If you've been working longer than 10 years, you'll have some bulletized TEOs, and you'll have maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 TERs. But what Johan's been finding with 1 or 2 people is that the training and experience report and the start dates and the end dates of the TEOs and the TRs have got anomalies, and they've either got gaps or overlaps, neither one of which is allowed. So that's just very important. Please be meticulous. And if there are any mentors in here, I think I saw Anton Ferry in here. If there are any mentors in here, please make sure that you go through the dates, the chronological dates and the sequencing, so that your training and experience report exactly summarizes the TEO period and the starts and the ends and all the TERs because that's just going to give you unnecessary issues because there's a lapse in detail consciousness, okay? And then please, if you can, item 1, if you did do an experience audit, a career experience audit at the beginning, like we asked everyone to, especially if you were very mature, that will help you, Hun, quickly. A learning gap analysis will help to see what the mentors are focusing. If you didn't do that and you don't want to do that, it's not an extra requirement. It's a suggestion. We run it on our Marcelo Lucani programs because it helps us as the coordinating mentors to get a feel of the learning journey and the kinds of experience. And what we're really looking for is, has the candidate gone through the full project life cycle? And are we expecting to see TERs written up that can cater for the full journey through the project life cycle, right from inception and feasibility through to maintenance and handover, sort of kind of thing. And then we need your engineering report, and that needs to be in the format. Strip out all of the guides and things like that, so you don't have something that's using up unnecessary pages. And we're expecting to see that signed or a confirmation in the email that your mentor and your supervisors have had a look at it, and hopefully even that a referee's had a proper look at it. But we're expecting to see that it's been ratified by your support community, your mentors and your supervisors. Exactly the same with the TERs. Please make sure you've got those, that they tie up, they comply, and that your engineering report makes sense measured against your last major TERs, so that whatever you're writing up as a project is mimicked in your TERs appropriately. And then if you have been working for longer than 10 years, make sure your TEOs and how you've done the bullets and the numbers of bullets, etc., as per the guidelines are appropriate, and cover the early stages where you were doing degree of responsibility A and B. We don't need all the detail. EXA doesn't want all the detail, but they want to know that you were in a process that was actually getting you to move beyond the purely observation stage into the initial participation stage, and before you start really getting involved and contributing, etc. Your TES must, as I said, it must be a watertight chronological look at your whole history, and everything should tie up. And then for those of you who need to, the technologists and if there aren't any alternative route, if you've got an international qualification or anything, if there is any need, we need your B18 EDR, so that Johan is able to go through that, make sure that is compliant with from an education perspective. And then what we do want, please, is your workplace mentors, workplace supervisors. We want to see that they have actively involved. So we've had some fantastic emails from people like Unati and Moza and things like that, will always confirm. They always send this little sheet to us, and they confirm that they're mentors. So it makes it easy for us to help you if you give that to us, please. So that will be good. And then we sent this to you in an email, but you can ignore this. Please don't flood this to Louise now. We didn't get a lot of responses. Maybe people missed it in the email. So we're going to do a live session right now. And just so that you're aware, if any of you have sent us information and you either haven't had feedback, or you've sent us information and you haven't had any feedback at all, then these are the only people that we know we've got feedback. So from Kolofelo, Mosa, Muneni, Takalani. Takalani's already submitted and been interviewed. She's in the sort of a second interview process. Tata and Unati, okay? If there's anybody else, you need to please put your hands up in the chat and tell us. So this is what I want to ask you all to do now. And I want you to please open up your chats. And I would like to ask you to do the following for me. Just type in, so you've got there, Boitumelo Maifadi, okay? We don't need all of your names. We need the first name and the last name, preferably. Or we need what is exactly on your ID book. So not what a partner calls you or your kids call you, whatever. It needs to be what's in your ID book, because it's the only way we can tie your records up with what we've submitted to EWSETA. So Boitumelo Maifadi, that's perfect. We know that you're in SETA, that you're part of the SETA group. We know that you're in Amanzi 1. All we need from Boitumelo Maifadi is Boitumelo Maifadi. We need the date that you are planning to send us your documents, so that we can warn Tim, Phil, Kim, Tom, Johan, that you've got a set of documents coming, and if we've got a whole herd coming on a particular day, then we need to plan for that. So please, in the chat, put your first name, your last name, put the date that you want to submit your documents to us. If you are delayed, if life has dealt you a tough blow like it has with Nadira Patel, if life has dealt you a curveball that you weren't expecting, and you have to come out of Amanzi 1 or Amanzi 2 and then go into the February 2025, there's no problems with that. No one's going to have judge you or criticize you or hold you accountable or anything like that. It's a year-long program. You are welcome to move, and all you need to do is let us know. Just write it in the chat, and then Louise and I will go through afterwards, and we'll gather and we'll update all of our information. So the 2 dates we want: the date that you plan to send us your documentation, and then the date that you are wanting to submit to EXA. So ideally, you should get information to us before the last week or in the last week of July at the very, very latest. Then we as a team can do our very best to get a turnaround of a few days, if we can do that, so that we get it to you in such a way that you've got at least a week, maybe 10 days into August, that you're not under pressure. If Eskom gives you a treat and wipes out your battery, you've got enough time to pop down to a coffee shop and send it from somewhere else. So don't leave it until the last moment. What will happen is the EXA servers will be battered to death by all the little light lummokies sort of trying to come in the last moment. So don't be one of those people. So ideally, so please, in the chat, while I'm dribbling on here, please, in the chat, first name, last name, date that you are planning to send us your full document submission once you've gone through the template, once that's been checked off and signed off. And then the second date that we want is the date that you and your mentors and your referees need to be in line and aligned with you, because that's the same date they need to submit their thing to EXA as well, which is confidential, goes in a separate cover, etc., etc. Okay, so this is the for Amanzi 1 and Amanzi 2. This is the group that forms part of the sponsored or the EWC funded, and the ones in blue are the people that we've already reviewed. So those people, you should have your reviews. If there's anything that's outstanding that you're still needing, etc., you need to let us know. But those are the people that we've got. So anybody else coming in, please let us know. Please put your notes in the quite a lot. We're still waiting for quite a lot over here. So that would be good to know. And then for the industry sponsor, these are the ones that SAICE and ourselves are sponsoring out of our devotion to country and king. These are the ladies that there is no money to sponsor you, and so this is our contribution to society. And so we've assessed Moza Mafani, really nice presentation. Unati's Mbengwa's been assessed. All of the feedback is in CHQ. You can go and have a look at it. Unati sent a note just now to say, where's my feedback? And it's in CHQ. So that's where you go. It's really important that you get comfortable with using CHQ, because that's where it's all going to happen. That's where you get quick turnaround, quick response. Other people can contribute. So you don't just get the single reviewer response. You have the opportunity of getting multiple reviewer response in CHQ. There's a few other people. Louise, there was the Chueni Dinyaki had some comments and some questions a few weeks ago, and I didn't see her name here in the list. We just need to try and find out if you could make a note. We need to go back and see.
She's there, Phil. Her name is there.
Is she? Okay.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Fourth from the top, third from the top.
No, I can see she's here in the list, but I can't see if she's in the group today. In the thing. So Tom, it was you, me, Louise pinged it backwards and forwards, because she had some questions which were related to qualifications and a couple of things that we didn't deal with, I don't think, at the time. We need to circle back, because that's one. It came up when I was preparing this on my radar screen. I suddenly thought, well, hang on, there's unfinished business there that we need to resolve. So we just need to come back to that. But we've only got 2 in the industry people. There may be, if any of you have submitted to us and we don't know, or we've missed it in the deluge of running between hospitals and businesses and meetings in London, etc., please update us so we know. But this group as well, exactly the same thing. So if your name is Chweni Dinyaki, please put Chweni Dinyaki in the chat, remembering that your name in the chat may come up as your email address, which may not be the same. Some of you use really strange email addresses which don't resemble your name at all. So please make sure that we've got your proper name and the date that you expect us to be available to review your documents, which means we can keep ourselves all ready, like a good wiki keeper, with gloves open waiting, and the date that you wanting to be ready to submit to EWSETA. So same thing. So I think I've done just about thing. So I'm very happy now to hand over to our resident rockstar Kim Tim, who's going to talk you through just a short session on those of you who may have missed, or it was rushed a little bit, on what happens next. Once you've got your review back and you've got your points from Kim or Tom or Frederick or Johan or me or whatever, and you are good to go, what do you do next? And if you've got any questions for Kim, this is the time, because shortly Kim's going to have to leave and leap on an international aeroplane. So Kim, I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to hand over to you until you're ready to go, and then I will pick up the baton again. Thanks, Kim.
No problem at all. Okay, thanks. Let me share my screen quickly.
Kim, sorry, before you go, I see Unati's got a question. Unati, sorry, if it's to do with the my bit there, just please go with your question. Unati, can you go with your question?
Oh, hi, Phil. No, I have seen the email from Louise. They forwarded my report, because after the 26th feedback of June, I did review my report and went and changed my TRs. And then on the 1st of July, I did send, I think maybe it was missed or something, but I've seen it was forwarded to be reviewed again. Thank you.
Okay, I do remember that. Johan gave you feedback and he wanted some information, and that I remember that you did come back to us. And in fact, I think I even congratulated you and Cyril on such a fantastic job. So it's Cyril is your mentor, isn't he?
No.
Okay, I'm getting mixed up. Okay, ignore me.
Yes.
It happens when you get past 320.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I will. We will make sure that we got your latest stuff. Thanks for that, Renati.
Yeah.
But
Because it was only the TRs. I think the ER was fine. I only had to change the bullets and all that. So everything is all good. Yes.
Oh, that was right. You had too many bullets. That's right. You had a very nice engineering report, but too many bullets. And yes, okay, I've got it. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Unati.
Thank you.
Just let us know if there's anything missing, but we will keep you close to our heart and we'll watch it things go. Okay, Kim, thanks. Back to you.
Sure, no problem at all. Okay, so as Phil said, I'm going to run through a little bit what happens now. Okay, when you hit the stage where your TRs and your engineering report are as good as you can humanly get them, you never want to see another one of them again in your life, but you're ready to submit and everyone's given the go-ahead that you're there. Okay, so what I thought I would do is just show you and talk through a little bit about the actual submission process itself, and just a couple of things to watch out for, because sometimes applications get kicked out on technicalities, which isn't what you want to have to do when you spend so much time doing the actual work. So what I've got here is I've got both the technologist application form and the engineered form. They are very similar. There's subtle differences, but you should be aware of these forms now. So if you go to the third page of them, well, the first page after the forms, you will see that there's a little bit of an information sheet that tells you what to do for each of those different roles. Very similar, as I said, but there are some things to note. So they give you a checklist in each of them. So for instance, if you are sitting as on the technologist side of things, you have to have completed the various application forms, certified copies. This whole checklist is all the documentation that needs to go through with your submission. Okay. Now, we your submissions are now being emailed through. So there is, I think it's at the end of this document, but it's engineer@EXO. So all of the submissions get emailed through. They will no longer accept any form of hard copies. So it's, if you were intending to drop them off at Broomer Lake, you probably want to change, and everything gets emailed. So remember, you have quite a lot of pages that you are going to be emailing. There is a page limit, which we've spoken about before, of, in particular for the technologist, it's sitting at 50 pages. There isn't an official page limit in the professional engineer side, but you shouldn't really be going too much more than that anyway, because honestly, the reviewers get bored after a while, and if you can't prove that you are at the level to be a professional within those 50-ish pages, then they're like, no, you're wasting my time now. So you don't have to, as an engineer, stick within the 50 pages, but aim for short, sharp, and sweet. So you need to email all of these documents through. What that means is a lot of these documentations you will see need to be certified copies. So if you look at the list, you will see certified copies of qualifications. You are not, a certified copy has to have been stamped within the last 3 months. It's not good enough if you had a certified copy when you qualified and you got a whole bunch of copies and now you submit it. It must be within the last 3 months. And honestly, to be sure, most people just take it the week before they do the submission and take the whole batch of stuff. People who can certify, if you don't have somebody who works in your office or someone that you know, most of the police stations have guys who are able to certify, and some of the post offices do as well. But often with the police station, there is a guy with a stamp and a separate queue for him. So you just take all your documents. But make sure you take along your original qualification as well with that, because they will not sign off that it is a true copy unless they see your original qualification. So that might be a matter of, yes, you need to take it down off your frame on a wall or whatever it happens to be, but make sure you take original qualifications and your copies and get them certified. In addition to that certification, you will see on these initial forms here, the A forms at the top, these first forms, B1.1 and AN 1.1. If you go to the end of that second page, there is a Commissioner of Oaths there, or Justice of the Peace. They have to sign. It is effectively the same person who is certifying the documentation, doing the certified copies, is normally a Commissioner of Oaths, and they are able to sign here. I'm not aware of anybody being a Commissioner of Oaths and not being able to. So yeah, make sure that when you go and get all your stuff stamped, you take this form as well. Don't sign it before you're standing in front of them. They have to see you sign it, and then they have to sign it. So otherwise it could be anybody that is doing it. So just
Kim, and
yes?
just make sure you have an ID document with you.
100%.
Otherwise, they won't sign.
Yes. So they need to know that you are who you say you are, and they need to see you sign it and then sign it there. And just, if you take all these documents, it's all together at one. It saves you going back and forth a few times. I know a bunch of people who, especially now that there's a deadline, end up flapping and running around on the last day trying to get everything in, and now they're being sent back because they didn't, for instance, have an ID document. So make sure you have your ID when you take it through. And you will see the ones that need certified copies are the qualifications, and that initial application form needs to be certified as well. Okay. You don't need that poor person that you are getting to certify things to stamp and sign every single page of your submission. It's just those particular identified pages. There is, however, I think it's not on this list. I just wanted to check. Yes, here on the engineer side, you will see there is a certified copy of your original identity document as well is required. It isn't officially on the list here for the technologist side, but honestly, I would just include it anyway. It certainly doesn't hurt, and rather do it once than go back and forward. Okay, there are a few things that most of these forms, they used to all get printed out and you'd fill them in black ink. Try and do them as much as possible, fill in all the text and everything on a computer as much as you can. So you add text in Adobe or one of those if you can. The clearer it is to be able to read, the simpler it is, the less confusion you're going to get with people misreading numbers or candidate numbers or things like that. So where possible, fill them in on a computer. If you can't, then use it in black ink. They will literally reject it if you fill it in blue ink, so don't do that. Yeah, so on there are some details in here, in particular in the engineers one, that were only relevant when they used to receive hard copies and not the electronic copies. It hasn't been updated since. So you can ignore the part about saying don't bind the application documents, you need a stapled application. That in no way matters. However, now that we are doing things electronically, please check the size of the ultimate document. If possible, group them all together in one document, one PDF, rather than lots of different ones. If there are lots of different ones, then at least put them in some form of zip file or something so that they all stay together, because it is very easy if you're sending lots of different documents for them all to get lost. But first prize would be to combine them into one document so there's just one file. Having said that, keep an eye on the size of that file. If it is larger than your standard email formats are likely to be, then you will instead have to either use one of the minimizing ones, which takes out all the excess noise in your PDF and slims it out a bit, or you can send a WeTransfer link as well. They will often download from there, but you might find with the WeTransfer link that if you are submitting it right at the very end and they have massive numbers of applications, they might not get to it in the 7 days before it expires, and then you have to resend it again. So first prize, one PDF format document, which you have slimmed down slightly so it's an emailable size. Once you have slimmed it down and before you email it, just zoom into the various details and make sure it's all still legible, including any pictures or diagrams you might have in your engineering report or whatever it happens to be, because you just want to double check once you've condensed it that they can still read all the documentation. Okay, then if I just go down a little bit more here, you will see it goes into various details. They're slightly differently written between the two, but the same content is the same. The passport photo that you need to include, you will see right at the very top here, there is a space for it. You are welcome to insert a JPEG in here. It doesn't have to be something that you print, stick on an official passport photo and then scan it back in again. Often that just ends up with very large files instead. But something that I would suggest, if you are putting a picture in, they're saying passport style photo, try and stick to the normal rules of ID passport photos. So no hats, motorbike helmets, or anything like that. They do actually need to be able to identify you. I know it sounds stupid, but I promise it's worthwhile to just get it right the first time. Okay, there is some description about, yeah, here you see a police officer or postmaster will be able to help you with the qualifications and the certification, so that's fine. Your application and annual fees. So the application fees, you will see in the documentation, they say things like only checks must accompany. That's not true anymore. Do an EFT. Okay? It is frankly the way. Please don't send them a check if anybody even owns a checkbook anymore. You will see on the engineer's side, they've got an updated one here saying proof of electronic payment must accompany the forms, as no other forms of payment will be accepted. They have the bank account details there. Please don't randomly pick up account details from somewhere. Only use the official documentation, because there's an awful lot of fraud that goes around with people trying to change accounts, and the last thing you want to do is pay someone else. You need to have paid, and you need that proof of payment with the details you will see here, the depositor's name, and either your ID number if you don't have a candidate number, or your candidate number as your reference on that particular payslip, well, proof of payment. And that then needs to be attached to all of your documentation and submitted through. They will not start to look at your details if you haven't paid. Okay. So do this before, so that you've got, even if your bank takes 2 or 3 days, or your work is doing it and needs to go through their approval system, if you're intending to submit the session, maybe start leaning on them already to do what they need to do so that it can be paid and you can have that proof of payment, and that's not what delays you. Okay, referees. Right, so referees often cause mass confusion. There are slightly different numbers that you need, depending on whether you are doing a technologist or an engineering route. You will see here, I'm not going to talk in detail on the referees. You're welcome to ask questions if you do have questions on them. There is a list over here, which talks about the order of preference for referees. So first and foremost, they would like a mentor, then an immediate supervisor. So if you're picking, if you're sending in, say, 3 referees, depending on which format you're following, if you have a mentor, a supervisor, and a second supervisor or a second mentor, that would be absolutely first prize for them. But if you can't, colleague at a higher or the same level, and then as you go further down in level of preference. There's a form that you need to send your referees to fill in. Now, I'm just going to scroll down here. Let's go to, that's all just the details. You all have seen all of these before. Right, okay. Let me just unsynchronize these. Okay, so if you look in terms of the referee details, here we go. Okay, there is this cover page. Now, if your referee is somebody that you're working with on a day-to-day basis, or your mentor and you're chatting to them, you do not have to send them this official formal front cover form. This is just a template that EWSETA provides you with. Often people don't quite have that same level of relationship with their supervisors or whoever their referee is. And this is then a formal form that you can send to your referee. They do not need to send this page to EWSETA. This page, they just throw away somewhere. This is just you talking to them, that's all. But what they need to send to EWSETA is the following page. And they are not very different between the two, whether it's an engineer form or a technologist form. The systems are basically the same. And the referees themselves, there is a guideline to this, filling in this, which is on the following pages. So I'm not going to go through it in that amount of detail. They need to fill this in, and they need to then email it to EWSETA directly themselves. Now, what I typically, because I am lazy, and let's just work on the assumption that most of your mentors and referees are going to be lazy too, it really helps if you can fill in all of these details up the top for us. As much as you humanly can, even down to my personal knowledge of the applicant's achievement extends from. So whether you've been, you're unrelated to each other, they've known you from then to then. If you fill in the details here, then it makes it much easier for the referee. Because if you think about it, if your referee is somebody who's reasonably senior and they're very busy, and now they're going to get swamped by several people sending them these, and it's quite a lot of thinking work having to go through the form and do it. So if you've just had the edge of it already filled in, it's just a bit simpler. It takes the edge off, and people are more likely to do it quickly. And normally you want the guys to do it quickly, because if they do it quickly, then they send it through to EWSETA quickly, and then your submission doesn't get kicked out for being late because it's missing a referee report. Okay, so the mentors or the referees must send through their reports. They send it directly. When they send it through to EWSETA, they must ideally in the subject line give your name and your EWSETA number if you're a registered candidate, your ID number if you're not a registered candidate. If your submission has already gone in and EWSETA has already come back to you and given you a number for your registration process, then, and only then are your referees submitting, then they can include that number. But if you do not have that number yet, they must put in your full name and your candidate number, first prize, or your ID number. So having said that, you can imagine these are all going to engineer@exa.co.za or .org or whatever it is. It's at the end. And there are literally hundreds of emails that go through. So the referee reports get lost. They do all the time. Most people that I've spoken to have ended up sending them through a couple of times. So if they sent them through and EXA come back to you and they say, it's been a week, we've only received one of your referee reports, because they will do that. They're not going to penalize you for something that's completely out of your control. So they'll come back to you and they say, we've only received one from such and such a person. Please, can you make sure your other referees? Then the onus is on you to chase your referees and make sure they've sent it. If they've gone, but I sent it last week, ask them to please resend it through. Okay. Then keep the communication going. Send the email back to the person who told you that they hadn't received it yet. And as soon as the referee confirms that they have resent it and say, it should now be with you, they have resent it. If it still isn't going through, and we did have this once, it depends on your referee, but certainly the one that I was being the referee for, I actually, in that particular case, didn't mind the candidate seeing what I had written about them. So I literally just gave it to them to send on, because we tried sending it 4 times and it kept getting lost. But there are ways and means of getting around it, but it's a bit of a process. So don't take it, don't get resentful or twitchy if they come back and they say your referees haven't sent theirs through. They get lost. It doesn't mean they haven't, but just get them to resend and take it step by step. Okay. Okay. Then after the referee report, let's just put these back. Yeah, you'll see there's a guideline, and which your referees themselves, if they haven't done it, they need to read the guideline before they fill it in. Okay. The IPD report, these are slightly different formats. From a technologist side, they've got a set structure over here. With the engineer side, you need to basically give a list of everything, but it's not as set out into engineering courses, management, computer courses. But fill in all of your courses here, not just the ones that you have physical certificates for, even if it was training, in-house training that you went on. Anything more is better when it comes here. Okay. Then you will see, yes, okay, I'm going to skip through none of you guys are alternate routes, I don't think, in this session, but there's alternate route form that needs to happen there. Okay, this particular page on the technologist, there isn't an equivalent on the engineering one, but it is a very useful page to pay attention to. Okay, this is just your final checklist. Okay. So before I mention that, I'm just going to answer the 2 questions because they're referees before I go to this. So Pearl, you asked, is there an email for the referee to email to, or only the provided postal can be used? There is an email address. It is the same one. It's right. I've included it right at the end of this presentation, but I'll put it in the chat as well. I think it's engineer@exa.co.za or .org or whatever EXA's extension is, but it's right at the end of this. Okay. Melissa, you said one of your referees has already posted his report to the given address. Will EXA accept the hard copy? Okay, so there's a very high chance that the postal copy might not reach EXA. We found even last year when EXA was still receiving general hard copies for things and electronic copies, so you could do either. A lot of people preferred to physically have their hard documents over, and a lot of those they disappeared somewhere along the lines. So you can try. If he's already posted his report, that's amazing. Well done to him on being a very proactive person. There is a definite, if it arrives, they will probably accept it. It is on their documentation that they can accept it. So they haven't retracted that yet. So I don't see that they will be able to reject it. But I think there's a good chance that it might not arrive, in which case your referee might have to either refill it in again and email it or make a plan, which I'm sorry, it's a bit of a pain for them. But yeah, you will find out, call it about a week after you've submitted, when they are checking through whether or not they've received that referee. They will check and reply back to you. So those two questions, you both happy? Little thumbs up somewhere? I'm not seeing thumbs up, but I'm assuming you will ask more if there are questions. Okay, cool. Okay, this little application check form is, they've put in here as one of, it's got all the list of things that people do wrong. Okay, so have you done your application fee? Do you have your proof of payment? Yes. Okay. Is the Commissioner of Oaths there, and is it signed by you? Is it signed? Do you have your names of your referees? And then as you go, you'll see there's the details about whether it's 3 or 4 or however many referees you need. Do you have your photograph? Do you have your signatures? Oh, just one thing on the signatures, and this may seem obvious, but it might not. If you have a situation where you have a TER, which is from a company which maybe you worked for a while ago, or the company has since closed, or the supervisor's moved, or whatever it is, and you cannot get that signature from your supervisor, it's not the end of the world, but you do have to get a sworn affidavit. You can do that at the police station if that's where you're going to get your certified copies, but you need a sworn affidavit that you did the work as per you have indicated on that page, and that you cannot get hold of the person for whatever reason. So don't try and use that as a way of getting out of getting old signatures. First prize, try and get the old signatures. But if you can't, they do understand. A lot of people have moved overseas, they're not around anymore. Affidavits are fine. Okay. Then the organogram, again, it's just, these are the things. This is very much a list of items that the people at EXA created because they were kicking documentation out for being wrong. So if you at the end, even if you are on the engineer side, because you'll see the engineer doesn't have that useful page, just open the technologist side and read through all of these details. Obviously, you're going to be a 1.3 instead of a B 1.3, but whatever it is, just run through and double check that you have done all of the things that are in here. Okay, then last thing that I just want to cover, disability register. You will find that some people do not fill in the disability register page because they say they're not disabled and therefore they don't fill it in. Everybody has to fill in the disability register page. You just tick the no, I do not have a disability, and you say not applicable for the nature of the disability. It's required in terms of the various policies and the tracking in terms of all of the percentages and things like that. They need to be able to understand who is disabled and who isn't in the context of the professional individuals. So just remember to fill in the disability register and don't leave it off. Yeah, it's amazing how many people don't. Okay, I see I have lost my little snip that I put in here. So just give me half a second and I will, in fact, re-put it in again. I'm just going to snip it.
Kim, while you're doing a snip, Tom's actually updated a note there on hard copies, soft copies, if you just wanted to have a quick look at it as well.
Oh, perfect. I will do that. Okay, let me just talk through this snip carefully. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Tom, thanks. And I see it's also actually on the snip that I've just sent here as well. Unfortunately, actually your mentor is going to have to, your referee is going to have to email it if they're not accepting any form of physical applications anymore. So I'm going to put this little snip that I've added in the post. I'm going to put it in the chats too. A couple of things I wanted to highlight. There's a 4 o'clock over here, 16:00 p.m. don't think that the 15th of August means midnight, the 15th of August. You're going to be very sad if that's when you submit your documentation. Okay. And remember as well, things can go wrong in terms of, I don't know, undersea cables can get cut and stuff like that. Try not to leave it until 3:45 on the 15th of August for your submission. I've seen all of these dates coming through from everybody. It's great. Most of you are planning to do much earlier. Wonderful to see, but try and avoid being right on the 1600. There's the email address you're looking for, engineer@exa.co.za. All applications go via that, and then no physical documentation. Tom, I see you've written a suggestion here of when you email, print the covering email as proof of when you actually sent it. 100% agree. It is useful to be able to just prove. I mean, obviously, it can always be manipulated, but it just helps you to be able to say, no, I did actually send it prior to the deadline. Cool. Okay, so that was the list of things that I wanted to cover. Once they've received all of that, it goes into their system, and there are the first wave of attack from EXA's side is to review all the documentations for each person they've received, and then they'd run through it all and double check you have everything, and they will send you a response going, oh, we don't seem to have your proof of payment, or oh, we don't seem to have your 2 of your referees, or whatever it happens to be, and they'll give you a set amount of time to fix that. And if you don't fix it in that amount of time, then they'll just ignore you until the next application series. So once you get those emails asking for any missing dates, even if you could have sworn you included it all in the previous one, just resend it to them so they have it. Rather they have it twice than not at all. Okay, cool. Any questions on any of that? I know some of that may be very obvious. It is mostly written in one place or the other, but it's helpful to be able to see where you're going to go, I hope. So anybody got any questions on anything? Nope, everybody is 100% happy. That's wonderful. Okay.
Kim,
Bill,
Kim,
yep.
Kim, before you skedaddle, may I suggest that you and Johan have a quick conversation? Johan may have some thoughts and advice as well, just before you go.
Sure.
If you've got that, Johan, could you come in and just any thoughts that you would like to contribute to this, what Kim's just taken us through, any advice?
No, unfortunately not. Kim has done a tremendous job, and she once again did it very comprehensively. I've got nothing to add. Everything was fine.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Kim.
If
Thanks,
anybody
Johan.
does later think of questions, because I know as well a lot of people are very much in the middle of writing their TERs and their engineering report, and this gets solidly categorized as latest problem. So I do understand that, especially at a time like this when it's crunch time, suddenly one finds oneself at latest problem, and there are a couple of things that you then want to check out. So feel free to put it in CHQ as a chat or a question or something like that at the time, and I will see if I can have a look and answer it then.
100%. And obviously you can drop it into CHQ. We've got another session on the 24th. We've got a sort of almost a last minute to catch the stragglers or any of our last questions and things. So Mosa's just got a point there, Kim.
Yes.
So you just want to have a quick look?
Yes, so they will accept the referee reports that are submitted after the 15th, but first prize is to try and persuade your referees. Don't give your referees any wriggle room. Speaking as somebody who often signs referee papers, we're all lazy. And if we know that it only has to be in 2 weeks' time, that means we won't do it today. So rather tell your referees to do it by the next day or whatever it happens to be in as polite and as nice a way as possible. And so if they do miss the deadline and they get it in after the 15th, it is technically still fine. You have a little wiggle room there, because when the people come to check your submission and they identify they haven't received all the referee, you have that little window to re-get your referees to email their documentation through. So you won't get immediately booted out if they don't have them all by the 15th. Yeah, Tom's got a very important note here about the don't be alarmed if you get a mailbox full message. That is not unusual, especially as you get closer and closer to the deadline. So yeah, you can imagine if everybody's sending their 20 meg documentation through and there are hundreds of them going a day, it's problematic. So try sending it again, tell them it's your second submission and why. And yeah, you will get there in the end. Cool.
Fabulous.
Anything else? No.
Brother Tom, anything from your side besides what you're putting in the chat? Anything to add?
No, I'm all good. I think the emphasis must be on checking that you've crossed the T's and dotted the I's, and do it only once and get it right the first time. It'll save you a lot of pain, and you'll be into the technical review process rather than 3 months of backwards and forwards document checks, etc., etc.
A lot of people, because we spend so long on the TRs and the engineering report, they're so completely fed up with the whole thing that by the time it comes to dotting I's and crossing T's, that they rush it, and then you miss things and you do things wrong, and it's such a waste if you have to do it again and again and again, when actually the body of your work is fine. It's just a minor technical issue that you're being it's not rejected for, but have to go through the ringer of it. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Well, I will keep an eye on the chat and see if there are any other things that come through, but I unfortunately have to head off. So yeah, great. Best of luck for writing up for the next little bit for everybody.
Thanks, Kim. Fantastic session. Thank you very much. And obviously this will be recorded, and so anybody who missed anything can come back to it. You're welcome to put anything in the chat, and you've got sort of like a 2-week window till the next session on the 24th. So anything comes up, do get it to us. We will have it with the panel before then. Anybody that's submitting, thank you for all of the dates upstairs that I've seen in the chat. So Louise and I will consolidate that into something that makes sense to us, and then we'll make sure that we are available. So what I wanted to do now quickly to just finish off the session is I just wanted to share, and I wanted to show. So this is I was going to go into CHQ, which is here. So Tom, can you see my CHQ?
Yep,
Tom?
sorry, I couldn't see my mute button. Yes, all good, Phil.
Thank you. Okay, all right. So for those of you who are using CHQ, this is how it looks. And for those of you who aren't, this is where you come in. So when you come into your profile, whether you're a mentee or a mentor, down your menu here, this menu will look slightly different if you are a mentee, but somewhere you will have something called communicator if you load it in there. And you will also have a little red notification thing that will tell you how many communications have actually been taking place since you last logged in. You will also see that you will have a button over here which will have chat. So you will only see the people that you are connected to. You won't see everybody. I won't see all the EWSETA ladies. I'm connected to most of the MTM people, but everybody that is there, you will if you are connected in a mentor-mentee relationship. If you are connected, if you've given us your details and Louise is connected to you as mentor-mentee, you should see each other there. But the place to go to is the Teams chat over here, and then entire organization. In the next week or two, this will all change dramatically. We'll have a third button over here, which will have groups where you can have self-selected groups, etc. So if a candidate and 3 mentors or 3 referees, mentor, supervisor, referee, etc., you can self-select your sort of self into small groups. But if you go to entire organization, this is where everyone sees everyone, okay? So if on the very right-hand side, you can kind of scroll down and can scroll up. If I scroll up over here, this was something that I put in here. So this was feedback to Tato and to Sarel. Johan gave some very positive feedback over here. I put it into here because I want you to see the kind of quality responses that you get from Johan, which will advise you. So Johan was very happy with these, the report over here, and then offered some additional quality advice. So really important that you do go through here. there's a question that we won't deal with right now. It's from the NTM group. There's a very complicated situation that's with the alternative route. Johan's given us comprehensive feedback on that, which I will share with the steer code just now. Louise has added in a whole lot of all the other sessions. So if you've missed some of the other sessions, or you want to know where to get them, all the recordings are now uploaded. So when she got back from all of the hospital duty, etc., she's done a great job of making sure you've got access to everything. Takalani's professional review, the feedback on Takalani's professional review, that was very important. There's lots of lessons learned from that one. Takalani had a successful submission as a professional engineer candidate. She then went for her professional review. Then she got one of the reviewer, or the sort of the second quality controller felt that she had that there was some bias in her interview, and that she needed to have another shout at it or another bite at it, which I think she's got on the 24th. Very useful feedback there, because that's something that you need to be aware of, is that in your interview process, if you feel that you are being picked on, or you feel that you are not being handled, there's a mechanism for you to kind of appeal and feel if you want another one. So Takalani's got another bite at it. The steering committee had a session with her. We reviewed her information. We gave her feedback. There's really, really useful stuff. So go in there and have a look at it. And then if I scroll up here, you'll find that that's typically what a download will look like. So from Tato's feedback, from further to Johan's feedback to Tato, who's applying. Okay, so there's a whole lot of information over there. You can go, and if you want to see how other people are doing and what the kind of reports, you can scroll up. In the near future, you'll be able to search against folders. You'll be able to reply to a response. So that's all happening as we speak. There's also other information that was very useful. There was two of the technologists from the MTN group. If you are doing the alternative route, or you have to do the education evaluation, the B18 EDR, there's two submissions. There's a whole download that was done there on that. If you go further up, there's lots of information over here. So Johan's giving feedback to over here. So I'm not going to teach and read this for you, but Mosa done great response. So here, this is where Mosa was talking just now. Unfortunately, Johan is saying that there's some very important. Mosa hadn't followed the TER route over here, so you can go through, and then Mosa comes back with another submission. So there's really good Marcelo Lucani style learning here, guiding each other, learning from each other. So please make time to go through this with your mentors. There's really, really very valuable information. It's a little bit of a mishmash. It's a bit like using a WhatsApp at the moment. Unfortunately, we are fixing it. It will be much nicer than this just now. So please make time to go through this in detail and just review it. There's a lot of really, really useful information. There's Cheryl. I see Cheryl's in the group over here. Cheryl's doing the academic route. Cheryl's been one of the kind of rock star academics, so getting on there, always very active and a big contributor. So just scrolling back a little bit more, there's Takalani's information. Every now and then you'll see Tom comes in here, Friedrich comes in here and has a submission. So there's lots of good stuff. I don't want to belabor the point. Please go into CHQ and have a look. If you are stuck, if you are not in CHQ, just drop a note into the chat. Louise can trigger your what's known as the welcome email again. You'll get an email. Check your spam, your junk mail, your clutter. It won't come from Louise. It won't come from Phil. It'll come from something called developer at KM Institute. So look for something that your mail marshal or your spam folder may think is junk. So go in there, look for the developer at KM Institute email, and that will give you it'll give you the instruction details. You will require a unique password to get in. So it'll give you a password. So if your name is Philip Marsh, you'll get a unique password. It'll start with PM and it'll be a random set of numbers and the same email that you use, and then it'll take you into it. So if you're not sure on how to get into CHQ, you can go into Louise's updates here, all of the things, and you'll see that here's the CHQ training. So on the on the 4th of July. There was training held over here on CHQ. If you missed it, you can just go to this download and you can see all the training on the CHQ. Someone's unmuted. Can someone mute? Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to really cover, other than just for a kind of Johan and Tom to have a finishing session. If I'm going to hand over to Johan first to see if Johan's got any wisdom or anything he'd like to share specifically. Johan's had the benefit of seeing a lot of the submissions coming in. Johan, over to you. Otherwise, we'll pick up with Tom, and otherwise we can have an early evening. So, Johan, over to you.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I don't have much to add to what was already has been said. You know, I'm going to repeat myself. I often give this reply. You know, when I comment on applications, my point of departure is always to look at the 3 basic requirements for an applicant to successfully try to register. Namely, the first one is a variety of exposure to the full engineering life cycle. That is from conception, planning, design, implementation, operation, maintenance, closing, commissioning. Now, secondly, professional growth, and that's very important. I feel applicants place too much emphasis on the first, say, 2 years of their experience, especially if they apply 5 years after graduation. So rather put one TER or TO, well, TOs may be more, up to 3, and just tell us your story from where you started after graduation and your level A and B work. And then as from your next TR or TOs, you can improve your level of responsibility as you deem fit. And that must come forward from the engineering report or TEO, from the TR or TEO. Yeah, that's about us. Yeah. And then another thing that I miss, it seems to me applicants don't read the discipline-specific guidelines, say for civil or any other of the 8 main engineering disciplines and subdisciplines, which candidate engineers normally work in. Now, for example, let me try to explain civil engineering. Tom will be better equipped to do that. You know, it can be structural engineering, which is very strictly evaluated. That's been my experience over the years. Geotechnical engineering, hydraulic engineering, and water resources, pipeline, sewage, water treatment works. So in your TRs, concentrate on your area or subdiscipline of engineering. Yeah, urban planning, transportation. They also normally have a problem in the old days, in terms of the previous registration system. A candidate had to have a master's degree or 5 years of experience at least, not after 3 years, but normally they apply after 5 years. But then the experience towards the end of the 5 years must have been at level E. So yeah, that's about all I can add, Phil. I don't know if there's any questions.
Thanks, Johan. I think all the ladies here are in water engineering or water and sanitation or water related. So it's very discipline specific. So fitting into the civils water space. But I think it is important. And as we've said to everybody from day one, is you have to know the standards and the policies and the documents. So as Kim's taken us through very comprehensively through that document, just take the time to read it. Don't get caught out because you miss something. So use it as a checklist. You remember the session with Jones Molasani. he was saying, please use the checklist, and we just have to reinforce that it's been put together there by EXA, and EXA get very upset and excited when you don't listen to their rules. They give you the paint by numbers recipe, and if you don't follow it, then you can expect them to not be happy with you. The other thing is that we will only start working on the mock interviews and getting you ready for your mock interviews after you've submitted. So don't expect that to happen. Even if you have submitted, please don't hassle us for the mock interviews. We will start that process after all the submissions are in, and we'll obviously track. And what we would ask out of courtesy, please, once you've submitted and you know your referees have submitted, please do inform us. Either pop it into CHQ to say I've submitted, gone to EXA, had confirmation, or whatever it is, or drop us an email and Louise can update you. So we just know that we've got you over the line. That's an important milestone for us to monitor, that we know we've starting to bank some successful submissions. So that's really important. Tom, just not to take much time, but anything from your side, Tom?
Yeah, Phil, I think your last point, it's a requirement from the EWSETA that we provide the evidence that the ladies that are being sponsored by EWSETA through the program have submitted. That's the milestone 3 that we are aiming to achieve.
Yes,
so yes. I think that last comment is not if you feel like it, it's actually a necessity, and they can either just back copy or CC Marcelo Kani at saice.org.za or the M4S equivalent. I don't remember what yours is, but whatever it is. So please do that. And then, sorry, Johan, you said there were 3 critical things you look out for. You spoke about full life cycle, project life cycle. You spoke about professional growth. I didn't pick up your 3rd item. What was the 3rd issue you look for?
Oh, yes, thanks. No, that is your outcomes. All the 11 outcomes must be covered.
Okay.
At least, yes.
Yeah, and then Phil, I think what we are observing in terms of the last window is that a very large proportion of people would seem to be getting through the technical review with a few advisory interviews along the way, but a very high number of people are not succeeding at the professional review stage. And that could either be because not everybody's in Takalani's circumstances where the moderation process picked up a potential problem and they are trying to fix it now. It could be where they are basically advised, extreme case, your application's rejected, which is not the first prize you're looking for, or it's deferred. Obviously, you can go for an advisory interview, but that route is 30 days within notification. And then, should I say, you can appeal, that's within 30 days, but you have to have had an advisory interview before you can appeal. So just as you say, let's get them through the submission. Once the submissions are in, we can start doing the preparatory work to ensure, as Johan says, that defending your 11 outcomes in 15 minutes is not as easy as what people think. So you can get, sidetracked and you can talk outside of what you are trying to explain. Remember, the outcomes that you will present in your final presentation will be based on what is in your engineering report. Other than that, I think we've covered everything tonight, Phil. And like you say, they must please use CHQ and learn from each other on CHQ, and everybody's will get better and better and better. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom. I think a good point, and thanks, Johan, for just coming out. I was actually going to ask Johan for the 3rd point because I was also waiting for it, and I think that's really relevant that you cover all the 11 outcomes well, and that you've covered them through the life cycle of the A to E degrees of responsibility. Cheryl, I see your hand. I'm going to come to you now. Tom, what I also wanted to confirm. So to everyone in here, please, what Tom was saying, really important. When you do submit, please either copy us in the submission or forward it to us afterwards, so that we've got verifiable evidence that you have submitted your documents on a particular date to the correct EXA address, etc. If you receive any form of confirmation from EXA, generally you do, please let us know that as well. Tom, what I wanted to say has completely left me, but Cheryl's got a hand up. So let's just go straight to Cheryl. She's got a date on specifics for academics. Go, Cheryl.
Hi there. So I'm going to shoot myself in the foot by saying this, but the realizations and the learning has now happened because of this lovely form. So the mandatory parts of the project, if I had a mandatory flag over my head, I think I would have worked better and appreciated time. So now I'm in a space where I feel very grateful for all the help. And honestly, I don't believe I would have even arrived at an application sitting with my supervisors now if I hadn't had, this deadline looming and with all the help. So you can see I've shot myself a bit in the foot by saying many things now. But I do think that for candidates like me who don't have a cooking clue when I started out and truly have just crawled their way through, those mandatory, you must submit something to me type of things is incredibly important. In fact, it's everything. Otherwise, we basically just listening in every week and we're not really, producing. So I think that word mandatory is really needed to be adopted more strongly, and sort of like a whip needs to be smacked, because I know I tried my luck for a long time before I started really working. So please don't shoot me, but I thought it was necessary to say that. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. And just to update you that you're in the wrong group because you're a transport academic. This is the water thing, but you're always very welcome. So thank you for that. So you've joined the wrong group. You're meant to be the MTN group next week, the 17th. But you're welcome here, and we're hoping that you're going to get through the submission. So Tom's put the email address. That'll go to Tom. And if you could also if you wanted to send it to Louise, we get it to the Marcelo Lucani at m4s.co.za. But that one's fine. Tom's the main man. He's the main man. What counts, because he's that person that handles the interface with the EWSETA. We're not actually sure that anybody is alive at EWSETA because they don't respond to anything. But we at least we can collect it. I think I saw Unati's hand go up. Unati, you got a hand? Cheryl, can you put your hand down if that's a legacy hand? Unati, did I see a hand up?
Hi, Tom.
It's Musa.
I just wanted to ask, in terms with the registration fee, are we paying ourselves or you guys are going to pay it for us? I just want some clarity on that. I'm not sure.
No, your employer will need to pay it. It's not covered. It wasn't EWSETA didn't cover that. That's your employer will need to cover that.
Okay, noted. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Sorry about the wrong name.
Yes.
Any other questions? Generally, what happens, and I'm not sure with your employer, but generally what happens is people they pay themselves and then they claim it from HR. In all my years that I've worked with different organizations, what the companies do is they will wait until you've had a successful submission, then they will reimburse you. Some companies are a bit aggressive and they want to make sure that you register as a professional. Only then will they repay you. Some companies will pay you even if you've submitted. But the fact that you've been on this program hopefully should get you to a point where you will be successful, although nothing can be guaranteed. Takalani's experience was something that really caught all of us because we had the best team that you could have in the country. Tom McKeown, Frederick Slabbert, Kim Tim, and Johan Pienaar, and Frederick, and Jones Mulasani, and she's having to do a second interview. So it's not over till it's over. And so we want to start getting the interview. We want you to get interview ready. We want you to do a little mock interview, to listen to us, to take the points. But we'll only do that once you've submitted. We've then got a little bit of time in August to start doing that with you. Any other hands up? Otherwise, I think we've done for the day.
I have a question for.
Yes,
am I
sorry.
audible? Yes, this
Yes.
is Musa speaking. Good
Yes.
afternoon to everyone. I'd like to thank you and the team for the feedback that I received on my submission. There was an issue with the template that I'd basically deviated from the the template, and I will rectify that. I did say in my submission that I was a bit reluctant to change it because it had taken very long for me to finally get to a point where my mentors, are basically pleased with the content. But I will make that change with the hopes that they will, not delay the process any further. But one of the comments that I just wanted to know, so the comments were primarily relating to my TERs and not necessarily my engineering report. I'd like to know whether will the report be reviewed once my TERs are resubmitted, or if there were any sentiments with regards to my engineering report that I need to basically take into consideration before resubmitting.
I'm just trying to find Johan, can you remember? I mean, I know you've had a look
Yes,
a lot there. Can you remember most specifically?
Yes, Phil, if I remember correctly, she just submitted TERs and not the ER. It's easier to review an application if I have the TERs plus the ER, because the ER, in the ER, she has to reflect on how she grew professionally and all the experience she's had. Yes.
If I may just clarify, I had submitted everything, including the career experience audit, or the forms that were. So I submitted everything: the engineering report, IPD, TOTS, basically everything that was required. But in terms of the feedback that I received, it seemed to only reflect the issues with the TER template.
Johan, just to refresh, here's Mossa's thing. So
we're not seeing anything, Phil. If you wanted us to look, we're just looking at bubbles at the moment.
I just wanted to see if you like the bubbles. Okay. Okay. Can you see my non-bubble screen?
Yeah, we can see CHQ now.
Okay, so here's a submission from Mosa, which was delayed due to insufficient documents, which has been rectified. So this was the updated, Johan, this was the updated set of documents that Mosa gave, which looks fairly comprehensive. And then Johan had some feedback.
On the 10th of July. On the 10th of July at 8:44. I don't know if that'll be helpful.
Is it in CHQ?
Yes, it is in CHQ.
10th of July. 10th of July.
I haven't received that
10th of July is today, eh?
Oh, sorry, first.
Okay, I was going to say we are quick, but we're not that quick.
The other 10th of July. Okay. So Johan also shared some of his old notes with us. Okay. All right. Mosa, let's not hold everybody up. This was Johan's, the 1st of July there. There we go. So there's so Johan's feedback here was Mosa has unfortunately not complied with the prescribed format for TERs. She has written her TERs in project report style. In doing so, she resultantly caused a big overlap in all her TERs as well as her TES. In this regard, so Johan, does that remind you what you wanted to mention to Mosa now?
Yeah, but I didn't say or see anything or say anything about our engineering report. So obviously I first wanted her to correct that, but I'll go back on the email and see if the engineering report was in fact attached. Okay.
So Mosa, do you have a final question? We can follow up on this. Let me just go back to the documents, the updated documents. So there's the TERs, the TS, there's the engineering report. So it is there. We would have sent it to you, Johan. Maybe it got mixed up because there would have been 2 emails. You might have thought that it was, I see you've got 2 engineering reports. It's loaded twice. Okay, Mosa, Johan will go and have a look at that.
One's a Word and one's a PDF.
One's a PDF. Okay.
Okay.
Mosa, Johan's undertaken to go back and have a look at that email. I'll check in with him and we'll get back to you on that. We'll update it into CHQ here as well, the feedback.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll also update my TERs in the meantime.
Okay, fantastic. So if you just drop it in here.
One one other comment is just Johan made reference to the discipline-specific guidelines, which are very, very critical. But just to remember, in EWSETA group, we've got some electricals and some chemicals and mechanicals. So it's not all civil, Johan. You've got some sparkies and some blow-up things and
that's
some
a good point, yeah.
spanner things to be dealt with along the way. So
Yeah,
it give you a bit of creativity, and you don't all read the civil nonsense the whole time.
Yeah. Now we had that with ABB with Johan as well. We were doing all these civils people and structures people, and then we suddenly had all these electrical engineers. Okay, all right. So Mosa, we'll sort that out. Sorry if there's been any confusion. Obviously, Johan's being bombarded with emails and attachments, and so there might be an overlap. So if you've got any updates, drop them into CHQ, and then email them to Louise and I, and then we'll get them to Johan, and we'll come back to you with that. I think the most important thing is, if you're not sure and you're waiting for something and you're not sure where you are, just ask. Don't wait and lose time. We don't have time to be waiting. If you're not sure, if you have submitted something and you're not sure where it is or what's happening, just drop us a note that we can then coordinate amongst ourselves, so we don't miss a deadline, because there's a little bit of uncertainty in the camp with everything flying backwards and forwards. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop sharing that now. Any last questions? We've just
Tom,
run out of time. Yes, Johan.
Maybe if I can just repeat myself once again. Please, and it applies to every applicant, please don't use the words "I was involved in." Rather say, "I contributed to this project." The assessors will say to you, you were an innocent bystander looking at what other people do. You know, and site visits, don't just mention you went onto site. What did you do on site? Did you have a checklist or any other type of checking mechanism while you were on site? Did you give any guidance to the contractors or the workers on site, etc.? So personalize your TERs, TOs. Say, I did this, I did that, I contributed here. So please personalize your reports. Thank you.
Thanks, Johan. Yeah, as Friedrich Slabbert would say, is be specific. So if you look at the table 1 in the RO2 document, it gives you the kinds of descriptors you should be. You know, I observed, I participated, I contributed, I performed, depending on the degree of responsibility. But what I've also said right from the beginning is the RO2 document towards the back, whether you're an engineer, technologist, or technician, it gives you a table of the competency indicators and the range statements, and it tells you the kinds of work that they are looking for, so that you are able to describe it, and then you put yourself into the role. This, I performed this, or I contributed to the design of this on this particular project with the net result, and this was the cause and effect of it, and maybe 2 or 3 bullets. So very specific. They don't want to think that you were a part of a team that was collectively doing something, because there's no ability for them to validate or assess your engineering judgment, your sense of understanding cause and effect, and the stresses and strains, and the engineering principles and the forces of the universe. You have to show them that you have been involved in the assessment of the process, in the evolution of an appropriate solution to it, in the design of a solution of it, and then the whole life cycle of the engineering project management side of the communication of it, the ethics, governance, all of it that goes with it. So I think some of you are doing a great job. Some of you there's some tidying up to do, but I think a point well made, Johan. Hopefully everyone's got that. Okay, I don't have anything else. Anybody have any final questions? No final questions. We're having a bit of dropout already. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. We'll see you on the Cheryl. You've got a session with the MTM people on next Wednesday. Everybody's at the conference. That's why they're not here. They're at the conference. So the transportation conference or traffic conference. And so your session will be on the 17th, and then everybody collectively together again on the 24th. We'll have a final catch up. Thanks, everyone. See you on the 24th.
Thank you.
Cheers for now.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Paul. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks,
Bye.
Louise. Thanks for being here
Thank
to
you.
record.
Bye.
Cheers.